Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new Pokemon TCG video. Today guys, we're going to be taking a look at a deck that's had some absolutely resounding success. We're going to be focusing on our deck on two Pokemon mainly, but the first one that I do want to talk about is going to be the Swampert from the Primal Clash set release. This Pokemon is absolutely amazing. With his diving search ability, pretty much acts as a computer search, so allows us to look our deck for any card and then place it on top of our deck. So essentially we could draw onto the card on our next turn, but we're actually going to be focusing on allowing ourselves to actually control the flow of the entire game by being able to put the card that we want to draw onto next and then being able to draw it by using our Empoleon's ability. Just want to tell you guys that I feel like Swampert has been a tremendously powerful and infuriating Pokemon, so much so that I feel like he has much better synergy in combination with our Empoleon than the Dusknoir deck. I mean, this deck has just been blowing people away. I absolutely do love it. So let's actually go and discuss what the deck sort of revolves around. Also, I do want to mention that our Swampert does also have the Alpha Growth ability. We're not really going to be using it all that much though. Because he's not really going to be an attacker, he's mostly going to be on the sideline. He's going to be staying at our bench and then repeatedly using his diving search ability to allow us to get the cards that we need. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that Swampert isn't going to see any action. From time to time we may actually want to use him instead, because his Hydro Pump ability is nonetheless another very solid attack. Because I mean, if we do equip 3 water energies, it is dishing out 130 damage. Every water energy that we actually do have attached to our Swampert, we're able to hit for more and more damage. So Swampert is quite a nice Pokemon. Not only a very solid attacker, but a tremendously powerful bench Pokemon. So let's actually discuss what our deck is actually all about. So while our Swampert arranges for us to get the next card that we need, our Empoleon with its diving draw ability will allow us to get the next card that we need. So say for example, if we actually have 2 Empoleons in our bench and 2 Swamperts in our bench, then we're going to be able to draw 2 cards every single turn that we need. I mean, you guys you'll get a good demonstration of how this deck actually works in battle. But man, is this a deadly combination! I've really been loving this deck. I feel like Swampert can really replace the Dusknoir. I mean, there certainly are some downfalls in that decks, such as fairy decks that we may be facing may be able to repeatedly max potion off their Pokemon. So Dusknoir certainly does have its benefits, but I mean, this is just how explosive this deck has been recently. I think that you guys are going to absolutely love it. So again, Empoleon is going to be both an attacker in our deck. His attack command ability allows us to do 10 damage per Pokemon that are on the field. So that includes both our Pokemon and our opponents. We're almost always going to have a fully loaded bench. So at the very least, Empoleon is going to be able to hit for 70 damage. So 60 for our entire bench and 1 of our opponent's active Pokemon. But a lot of times Empoleon is actually going to be able to hit for much more than that. Again, we do have another attacker in our deck as well, in that our other attacker is actually going to be the Miltank. With its powerful friends attack for a single energy, this bad boy can dish out up to 80 damage, attach a muscle band to him as well, and then he's able to hit for 100 damage. Very, very solid Pokemon, works quite nicely in this deck. So him and our Empoleon are going to be the main attackers in our deck, while our Swampert is going to be using his ability to rearrange our deck for us to be able to get the cards that we need. Another Pokemon that we are running, guys, as well, is the Execute. This is pretty much so we don't necessarily have to give up anything useful from our hand when we are using our diving draw ability. So Execute does come in handy with respects to that. With its propagation ability, we can repeatedly grab him from our discard pile, put him back into our hand, and then discard him all over again by using our Empoleon's ability. So quite nice. So we will be running a single copy of him in our deck. And the last Pokemon that we are running as well, guys, is since we're running a lot of basic Pokemon, mainly, I mean, our deck is absolutely an evolution type deck. So Mr. Mime is going to come in handy with respects to preventing us from actually taking bench damage from Pokemon like Landorus or Trevenant, any Pokemon that can really snipe our bench Pokemon. We don't really want that to be happening. So that's where Mr. Mime is going to come in handy. So we will be running a single copy of him. Now, to actually discuss some of the item cards that we are running as well, guys, also we're running a 3-1-3 line of the Swampert and a 4-2-4 line of the Empoleon, and of course we are going to be running the rare candies so that we can evolve our Pokemon from the stage 1, from their basic form into the stage 2, hopefully. Rare candy definitely allows us to speed up that entire process, so we will be running the maximum number of rare candies in our deck. We'll be running a total of 4 rare candies. Now to actually discuss some of the other item cards that we are running in our deck, guys, we're going to be running the new Dive Ball. Works tremendously well with this deck in that we don't necessarily need to sacrifice any of our hand cards to actually make use of it. So Dive Ball has been tremendously useful in just allowing us to get our bench up and running nice and early. We want to grab out, say, a Prinplup, a Piplup, any of our Swampert pre-evolutions. Dive Ball is going to come in handy with respects to that. So we are going to be running 3 copies of that. And then we're also going to be running a single Ultra Ball. The purpose of the Ultra Ball, of course, being that we are running some non-water type Pokemon in our deck as well. Namely speaking, our Miltanks and the Execute. And of course, our Mr. Mime, which can be absolutely crucial in case we do encounter certain types of decks. So we will be running a single Ultra Ball in combination with 3 of our Dive Balls. Now, as the A-Spec card in our deck, we are going to be running the Dowsing Machine. The reason that we're actually going to be running the Dowsing Machine as opposed to, say, the Computer Search, and it looks like I'm receiving a challenge. I am going to have to cancel it because I'm just reviewing our deck. I've actually been getting a lot of challenges recently, and I mean, if any of my fans are hearing this right now, if you are going to send me a challenge, please be sure to ask me beforehand because I am quite busy. I mean, I may actually be on the Pokemon TCGO game, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I am free for a battle. But anyways, going on to the discussion of our Ace card, I mean, of course, the reason that we're actually going to be using the Dowsing Machine is because we are running, I mean, we're pretty much running 3 computer searches in our deck, namely speaking, our Swampert, so we don't really need it. So Dowsing Machine is going to be quite useful in allowing us to reuse some of the crucial item type cards that we may have used early on in the game, such as our rare candies, of course, and quite crucially as well, our Lysander's trump card. We will be blazing through our deck relatively quickly, so Lysander's trump card, a very, very nice card to include. So we will be running a single copy of that. You guys are probably going to use it in case we do want to recycle our cards, namely speaking for our energies, because if we do happen to give up a lot of them through the use of, say, our Professor Junipers, anything like that, Lysander's trump card will allow us to recycle those crucial energies back into our deck so that we can repeatedly attach water energies to our Pokemon. So some other item cards that we are running, guys, is we're going to be running the Starling Megaphone. Of course, you guys can quite vividly see that we do rely on our Pokemon special abilities to quite a certain extent. So Starling Megaphone is going to come in handy. And of course, we're not really relying on our Swampert's Alpha Growth ability all that much. Because, I mean, luckily for us, Alpha Growth is not affected by, say, Pokemon like Garbodor, which completely shut down our Pokemon's abilities. But nonetheless, our deck is by no means revolving around our Swampert, so we will be running a Starling Megaphone count because we are quite dependent on our Pokemon's special abilities. Some other cards that we are running as well, guys, is the Switch. Of course, you guys know what that card is all about. Some of the supporter cards that we are running, just briefly discussing it. So we'll be talking. We'll be running a single Skyla, 3 Junipers, 3 Ends, 1 Lysander, 2 Colress, and 2 VS Seekers. You guys know what those cards are all about. Briefly going to be talking about the teammates. Of course, you guys know what this card is all about as well. I have been using it in quite a few of our decks. But the reason why teammates is such an important card in this deck is because we're running a very heavy evolution line. So in case any of our Pokemon do get knocked out, chances are we are going to be having, say, a Piplup or a Mudkip on our bench. So teammates, who can absolutely use that to grab out a rare candy and one of our final evolution Pokemon. Teammates works very, very well with respects to our evolution type decks. So that's why we are going to be running 2 counts of this card in our deck respectively. As our stadium card, we are going to be running the Rough Seas. This will allow us to heal 30 Pokemon from each of our water type Pokemon during each of our turns. So it works quite nicely. I mean, I would definitely say that this is the card to run in this type of deck. Makes our Empoleons and our Swamperts just last that much longer. Just makes it's really, really helpful stadium card, guys. So we are running 3 copies of it. I don't really think I need to explain it. I mean, of course, our Miltank unfortunately can't really use it, so you should only lay down the Rough Seas in case we are actually using one of our water type Pokemon as one of our active Pokemon, or we happen to have a very badly damaged Empoleon, for example, who happens to be on the bench, and we're going to repeatedly use the Rough Seas to heal him slowly and slowly by 30 HP at a time. Some other cards that we are running as well, guys, is the Muscle Bands. You guys know what that's all about. And we're ultimately running 7 water type energies. Not a lot of water energies in general, but the reason being that our Pokemon pretty much are able to attack for a single energy. So 7 water energies should absolutely be more than enough. So that is the basic deck breakdown, guys. Let's go and see what this deck can actually do. I think you guys are absolutely going to love it. I have had quite a few rage quits. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm not necessarily surprised because I mean it's incredibly difficult and infuriating to deal with a deck that can repeatedly rearrange itself in such a way that we are able to draw onto what we need in any given turn. So you guys will see just how powerful of a deck this is. I truly do love it. And looks like our opponent has won the coin flip, and he will be starting first. And it looks like he's running a Flareon, Leafeon type deck. So the whole purpose of our opponent's deck is, of course, going to be to try and get as many of his Pokemon into his discard pile as he possibly can. I'm going to leave the Mr. Mime in our hand for now. Because I don't want to waste up any precious bench space. I don't think any of our any of our opponent's Pokemon can actually snipe our bench. So chances are we're probably just going to discard the Mr. Mime. Don't really see him as being all that useful. It looks like our opponent has already gotten rid of one of his Flareons into his discard pile. Possibly going to be okay. It looks like he's actually grabbing another EV. So our opponent's deck is absolutely a full-blown Flareon type deck, trying to get as many Pokemon into his discard pile as possible so he can dish out the maximum amount of damage to us. Luckily, our deck gets set up nice and quickly as well because our Pokemon only require a single energy to dish out devastating amounts of damage. So okay, it looks like our opponent has managed to get 3 Pokemon into his discard pile right now, and he has a brand new hand. Luckily for us, that Silver Bangle is going to be absolutely a useless attachment because we're not running any EX type Pokemon in our deck whatsoever. So let's go and lay down the Rough Seas. I'll be attaching a Water Energy to our Miltank as well. Unfortunately, he's only going to be able to hit for 10 damage right now. So let's actually go and use the Professor Juniper. Unfortunately, I won't be laying down that Mr. Mime. Feel like he would just be wasting crucial bench space. Awesome, guys. Looks like we have gotten some nice cards. So let's go and lay down 2 Piplups. I'll also be using the Dive Ball to actually grab one of our Mudkips. Let's lay him down as well. And then let's go and unfortunately hit for only 10 damage. Hopefully, we're able to draw onto another supporter type card so that we can actually get our evolution line going. Because I mean, once we do get it going, guys, this deck is very, very menacing. And our opponent is asking us if my deck is that pretty in real life, and the answer to that is no. I don't really collect Pokemon cards all that much anymore. I do have some of the older Pokemon cards though. Again, they don't really see a lot of use. Looks like our opponent has the Audino in his deck as well. Actually works very nicely with respects to the Flareon type decks because not only can it heal the Pokemon from any status type conditions, but it can also be used to to just be used and then get put into the discard pile, so therefore making our opponent's Flareon that much more potent. So let's see how many Pokemon our opponent does have in a discard pile. Luckily, not enough to knock out our Miltank just yet. And again, our opponent is running quite a heavy count of Silver Bangles. Luckily for us, he can't really make use of that. And our opponent has decided to remove his Leafeon for some reason. I'm guessing he wants to set up more Flareons, for example, or okay, no, it looks like Leafeon is going to come out again. Our opponent is going to battle Compressor. So he has a total of 6 Pokemon in his discard pile for the time being. So he would need at least one. If he battle Compressors 3 of his Pokemon into his discard pile, he would need at least one more to actually be able to knock out our Miltank during this turn. So hopefully that's not the case. We do want our Miltank to be able to survive at least for one more turn. I may just Lysander out our opponent's Jirachi EX while we do get our line going. And let's see, did I make a mistake? Oh right, I completely forgot that our opponent's Flareon's Vengeance deck does an initial 20. So should have actually been a little bit more mindful with respects to that. So let's go and attach a Water Energy to our Piplup. I'm thinking we may just be able, actually, let's actually lay down to our bench Piplup just in case we don't happen to get our Empoleon line going. Let's use the N. And okay, so it looks like I think it was the wiser choice that we actually did not attach a Water Energy to our Piplup. Let's lay down another Piplup and a Mudkip. Actually, let's remove one of our Mudkips. I'm actually going to use the Ultra Ball to discard a Mudkip and the Water Energy. May use the Skyla for possibly a sorry, what's it called? The Rare Candy. So for now, let's actually just go and grab out one of our Prinplups. Okay, awesome. Looks like we do have one. and then let's go and lay him down to evolve our Piplup. And unfortunately, with that, we have to go and end our turn. And I don't really know why our opponent's apologizing. Not really something that I'm all that concerned about. Hopefully, our Prinplup doesn't happen to get Lysandered, but if he does, we can use the Skyla to actually grab onto the rare candy, evolve one of our Piplups, and then we would actually be able to use our diving draw ability as well, just so that we are able to draw onto some additional cards. Again, we do want to get our line set up and going as early as possible because our opponent's Pokemon are able to attack relatively cheaply. I mean, that Leafeon only requires a single energy to be able to dish out some damage. That Flareon with the double colorless energy. Nonetheless, though, I'm really not worried. As soon as our deck does get going, we're able to repeatedly dish out massive amounts of damage. Again, the Flareon is by far the most troubling Pokemon that we will be encountering. So hopefully we can get rid of him nice and early. Leafeon shouldn't be too much of a troubling Pokemon for us to deal with because we don't really rely on a lot of energies. Luckily, our Empoleon does have the lightning weakness, so that's actually kind of nice. Our Swampert, though, however, has the leaf type weakness, so that Flareon, sorry, the Leafeon is able to dish out massive amounts of damage to him. So let's actually go and bring out our Prinplup for now, and let's lay down our Empoleon. Awesome, looks like we do have the colorist, so let's actually use the diving draw ability to discard our Skyla and then draw onto 2 cards. And okay, so we have a trump card, and the colorist not going to be placing the trump card. It would make absolutely no sense, so let's actually go and lay down our Mudkip, use the colorist to get some additional cards at hand. Awesome, and let's lay down a Piplup. So I do actually want to get our Swamperts out nice and early as well, so let's actually use the dive ball. And do actually, okay, so it looks like I actually do not have any of our marsh stomps, so I'm actually just going to grab out a Swampert, I think. Yeah, so let's actually go and grab out a Swampert for the time being. Let's go and attach a water energy to our Piplup and then knock out that Flareon by hitting it with 220 damage, I believe. Yes, and draw onto one of our prize cards. Unfortunately, if that Flareon is able to attack, he would be able to knock out our Empoleon, and looks like our opponent's Flareon is going to come out. So I think for the time being, guys, we're actually going to bring out one of our Mudkips. It would have been really nice if we actually were able to get one of our teammates, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like we've been able to draw onto any of those just yet. Looks like our opponent's actually going to end us down. Awesome, we do have the teammates card now, so we can actually use it to grab a rare candy and an Empoleon, and then we'll be able to set up both one of our Empoleons and one of our Swamperts, which is very, very nice. And as soon as we actually do get this Flareon, our opponent doesn't look like he actually has another Flareon, so from here on out, we should be able to dish out massive amounts of damage. So let's go and use the teammates card to grab onto one of our Empoleons and grab onto a rare candy as well. And this is where you guys will really, really see our deck kick things into gear. Let's go and evolve our Piplup into the Empoleon and evolve one of our Mudkips into the Swampert as well. Now we can control the flow of what types of cards we actually want to be able to draw next. So let's use the Diving Search ability. And what card do I actually want to draw next? I think I'm actually going to go for an N maybe and reduce the number of cards in an opponent's hand. Or should I actually try and get up another one of our Pokemon lines set up and ready to go? I think I'm actually going to go and grab onto a Miltank for now, guys. Because our Miltank will still be able to perform the one-hit knockouts on our opponent's Pokemon. So let's actually go and grab him first. Let's go and attach the Water Energy to one of our Piplups. Hopefully we can get another one of our Empoleon lines going as well. We will be able to sort of tweak around our deck and get that going as well. So let's actually use the Diving Draw ability to discard our Professor Juniper and draw onto our Miltank. And then let's go and use the attack command to do knock out that Flareon and then draw onto another one of our prize cards. So if that Leafeon does come out and looks like he's actually not going to come out, he would have only been able to hit us for 20 damage because we only have a single, 40 damage because we only have 2 water energies attached to our Pokemon. Our opponent is going to use the Lysander's trump card though. So that's going to mean that if he happens to bring out one of his Flareons, he won't really be able to hit for a lot of damage because his discard pile no longer has any Pokemon in them anymore. Again, now that our line has been set up, guys, we're going to hit very hard, very, very quickly. So I will be arranging our deck in such a manner that we are able to draw onto another one of our Empoleons as well, and then hopefully get another one of our Swampert lines going as well. So our opponent is going to attach another energy to his Leafeon, so he will be able to dish out possibly 80 damage to us, but that's okay. 70 damage, but we will be able to heal ourselves thanks to the rough seas. So let's actually go and use the Marshtomp. We absolutely do not need the N. Don't want to be helping out our opponent. And then let's arrange our cards so that we do get a rare candy, and then we get our other Empoleon line going. So let's use the diving draw ability. Discard our Lysander's trump card. Don't really think we'll be using it anymore. And then evolve our other Empoleon and then bring him out. And unfortunately now I can't really decide what the next card is that I would want. So let's actually go and use the diving draw ability once again to discard our N. Again, don't really want to be helping out our opponent and see what we draw onto. So a Skyla, I actually think that I'm going to be using the Professor Juniper to get some new cards at hand. And awesome, looks like we can get another one of our Swampert lines set up and ready to go. Let's go and lay down that Piplup, and then let's go and arrange our deck so that we can get another rare candy ready and set up and ready to go. And we do have two more Empoleons in our deck, so we do have the Dive Ball, so we can absolutely use that during our next turn. Let's go and attach another Water Energy to our Piplup, and then knock out that Leafeon, hit it for, oh no, sorry, I was just a little bit short. Actually should have possibly arranged it so that we were able to draw onto a Muscle Band. Sorry about that, guys. Very, very silly mistake on my part. Absolutely forgot about our Leafeon's water resistance, but that's okay. I mean, there's absolutely no way that Leafeon can actually knock us out, so I can repeatedly use our Rough Seas to heal our Empoleon. May actually rearrange our cards so that we do happen to get a switch, so that our Empoleon isn't in our bench. Sorry, is in our bench while we're able to attack with one of our other Pokemon. So as you guys can see, our opponent did have a pretty good start, but as soon as our Pokemon line really got set up, things are going to only go downhill from now on from our opponent, because again, if he's unable to perform those one-hit knockouts, we're pretty much able to control the entire flow of the game. Let's see what our opponent has discarded. So a Lysander and a VS Seeker. Don't really think that he could have had too much use with either one of those cards. And looks like that Flareon is going to come out. So if our opponent doesn't actually retreat his Leafeon, I'm going to grab onto one of our Lysanders and get rid of that Flareon, because he's probably going to be the most troubling Pokemon for us to deal with. So we'll be rearranging our cards in such a manner that I'm able to draw onto one of our Switches and into one of our Lysanders, or possibly into one of our VS Seekers. I mean, I did discard one of our Lysanders, and of course in case we happen to not have one more in our deck. So let's see. Okay, so it looks like our opponent is going to attack us with his Leafeon, but luckily we can just switch into our Pokemon. So let's actually go and use the Dive Ball first, grab into one of our Empoleons, and then evolve our Piplup into him. And then, now that we've laid things down, let's actually use the Diving Search ability to grab onto our Switch. Do we actually have it? Yes, we do. So let's go and place that. So we'll be using our Diving Draw to give up our Swampert and then draw onto that switch. So let's first switch into one of our Empoleons. Let's use the Rough Seas to heal our Pokemon, and we do have a few more diving draw abilities that we can use as well. So let's grab out our Lysander. Do we still have that? It looks like we actually don't. How about a VS Seeker? Yes, we do. So let's actually grab into that, and then let's use the diving draw ability once again. Give up our Piplup. Don't really see us using him later on. Let's use the VS Seeker to grab onto our Lysander. Let's use the diving draw ability one more time. Again, we don't need the Juniper. We can control what cards we are able to draw next. It looks like we have another diving ball as well, but again, we don't really need that as well. So let's actually lure out that Flareon and then knock it out to draw onto another one of our prize cards. So as you guys can see, I mean, our opponent is going to have a very, very difficult time from here on out. We're able to use a computer search repeatedly, time after time, and just we're able to optimize our deck into being able to draw whatever cards that we want. And thank you. Yes, I do think this is a very, very interesting deck, and I would make the argument that the Empoleon with our Swamperts serves as a much better combination as opposed to the Empoleon and Dusknoir. I feel like some people may disagree with me with respects to that, but just based on the success that we've been having, I would say that this deck is absolutely much better. So let's see what our opponent is actually going to do. I'm assuming we're going to see that Slurpuff Slurpuff come out so that our opponent can actually draw onto two cards during his turn, and then he's probably going to retreat and then bring out his Leafeon. Um, but again, things are going to be quite difficult for our opponent from here on out. We do also have a Dowsing Machine in our deck, so we can absolutely use that to actually grab onto one of our Lysanders. And depending on the Pokemon that we do happen to knock out next turn, we may just need a Muscle Band as well. No, so it looks like our opponent is going to load up his bench. So I'll be knocking out whichever one of our opponent's Pokemon, and then I'll be knocking out his Jirachi EX. And from that point on, we should be able to win. So opponent is going to use the computer search. I'm assuming he's going to grab onto one of his Flareons and try to dish out a lot of damage to us. But again, he doesn't really have enough Pokemon to perform the one-hit knockout on our Empoleon just yet. So let's see what our opponent has actually decided to grab with his computer search. Unfortunately, it looks like I won't be able to see. Didn't really see anything get laid down there. That Leafeon's only going to hit us for 70, but we will again be able to use the Rough Seas to heal our Pokemon. I'll actually be able to. I'll be getting rid of the Leafeon this turn around, and then next turn I'll be grabbing out onto the Dowsing Machine so that we can actually get rid of the Jirachi EX. So for now, guys, let's actually use the Diving Surge to grab onto the Dowsing Machine. I will be using the Lysander's trump card right now, just in case our opponent does happen to bring out the Flareon and just something absolutely unexpected does happen to occur. So let's use that. And then we're going to be using the Diving Draw to get rid of our Dive Ball, which is no longer necessary to grab onto our Diving Surge. Okay, so let's actually use that to give up the Rare Candy and our Marsh Stomp, and then we'll be grabbing onto our Lysander's trump card. Again, I don't really want our opponent to be able to use one of his Flareon, so let's actually use the Lysander's trump card and then attach the Muscle Band to our Empoleon. And then we're going to go and use the Diving Surge again to grab onto a Water Energy and start loading up our Miltank as well in case we may use him. I mean, I don't really think we will, but you never know. So let's go and attach the Water Energy to our Miltank, and then let's use the Diving Draw ability one more time. Okay, so let's actually go and knock out that Leafeon, and then we will be able to win next turn. We'll just be rearranging our cards so that we can draw onto one of our Lysanders, and we'll be able to knock out that Jirachi EX to draw onto our final 2 prize cards. So as you guys can see, this deck is very, very infuriating to deal with. I mean, because we're pretty much able to decide what we want to be able to draw next. So Swampert, a very, very powerful Pokemon. I can absolutely see him being used in a lot more decks. But I mean, so far this is the one deck that I felt that he works extremely well with. I could see Swampert working with a Slurpuff deck as well. But again, I felt like this deck has been having a lot more success. As you guys can see, just how heavy hitting our deck is. So, okay, our opponent is going to grab the Lysander's trump card as well. Again, not really sure why. Don't really see him being able to really put that card into use. And he's going to use the Battle Compressor again. Probably going to be seeing a Flareon come out to try and knock out our Empoleon. Just taking a guess right now, our opponent does have a total of 8 Pokemon into his discard pile. So he would absolutely be able to actually knock out our Empoleon. Yeah, so it looks like we are seeing a Flareon come out and a double colorless energy as well, I'm sure. So yeah, it looks like I was right. So we'll be bringing out our Empoleon, guys, and then we will lure out that Jirachi EX for the final knockout. So let's so our opponent is going to be able to draw into one more of his prize cards. Let's bring out our Empoleon and then rearrange our cards such that we have the Lysander, and then we'll be able to actually lure out that Jirachi EX. Let's use the Diving Draw. Doesn't really matter what we actually discard. Absolutely, I mean, this deck is very, very nice. I do recommend you guys to test it out as well. And good game, my friend. I guess check out my YouTube channel for the deck list. And good game. So that's it. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit. Okay, so let me just actually tell him my channel, and then let's actually go and knock out the Jirachi EX. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's just see what we actually do get. And looks like we're only getting 3 coins. Again, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.